All right, good evening. Call the City of Clear Lake Shores City Council regular meeting in session, January 21st, 2020 at 6:30 p.m. All council members are present. At this time, we'll go ahead and stand up for pledge allegiance to the flags.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. At this time, I would like to go ahead and move council business, new business item 7A up. And this is a proclamation declaring January 2020 as School Board Appreciation Month. And so before I read off the proclamation, I had several kids that went to the Clear Creek School District, and thank all the board members for everything they do. It's so important that they have the leadership roles that take care of them, and then the kids with the support of the teachers and the board. Just really appreciate all that. So let me read this off. I'm gonna try to. All right, whereas the mission of the public schools is to meet the diverse education needs of all children and to empower them to become competent, productive contributors to a democratic society and an ever-changing world. And whereas local school board members are committed to children and believe that all children can be successful learners and that the best education is tailored to the individual needs of the child. And whereas local school board members worked closely with parents, educational professionals, and other community members to create the educational vision we want for our student. And whereas local school board members are responsible for ensuring the structure that provides a solid foundation for our school system. And whereas local school board members are strong advocates for public education and are responsible for communicating the needs of the school district to the public and the public's expectations to the district. Now therefore, I, Kurt Otten, on behalf of the City Council and the citizens of Clear Lake Shores, do hereby declare our appreciation to the members of the Clear Creek Independent School Board, District Board of Trustees, and proclaim the month of January 2020 as School Board Recognition Month in Clear Lake Shores, Texas. I urge all citizens to join me in recognizing the dedication and hard work of our local school board members and in working with them to mold an education system that meets the needs of both today's and tomorrow's children. In official recognition whereof I officially affix my signature. And then there's I went online and saw this and I thought it was pretty cool. I work out at NASA, so we're going to the moon, Artemis 2024. And I looked at that and you know, the school in Texas going after with a rocket ship, launching the next generation. That's who's going to get us to the moon. So it's pretty important to us. So I want to welcome Dr. Laura DuPont with the with the school district, with Clear Creek School Board.
We appreciate all of the support that we get from Clear Lake Shores and that you all give in many ways, not just over here at Stewart Elementary, but for the other things. I think the last time I was here was when the bond election was going on, and we were doing bond presentations all over to show you what was going on, and Stewart Elementary actually was the benefactor of many of those funds. And I hope, if you haven't already, that you do get a chance to go over there and look at the new additions sometimes. I'm really happy with it from the outside because I don't think you can tell where the old part ends and the new part begins, which is fabulous. They've done a great job. And inside it's just as good, and they're able to serve more students, and the dual language program we have going on over there is thriving, and so we appreciate all the students that obviously come from from this area, but all over the district, and the support that you all give to the district in general. So very much appreciate this, and I'm going to take it back and show the other board members and let them know that, you know, I was here and the support that you all give, and appreciate it.
Thank you,
Thank
Dr.
you for coming
Devon.
out. Thank you for coming out, Dr. DePont. All right, next is item 3, reports from council. Councilman Mark Thompson.
I have nothing to report at this time.
All right, thank you. Councilwoman Christy Lyons.
I have nothing to report either.
Thank you. Councilwoman Angie Terrell.
This past Sunday, we had a children's read aloud at the the Clear Lake Shores Library now is what it is. And we had Officer Kayla Sawyer read to our children, and we had a fantastic turnout. And I just wanted to thank the PD. I mean, you guys are never ending with the volunteer opportunities. You're at Stewart for Snow Day, you're at Clear Lake Shores Children's Read Aloud, and so thank you very much for that support. We appreciate that. The other thing, you probably know that our geese were getting picked off by the coyotes, and that our geese have now been relocated, what's left of them, down to Manville, I believe. I reached out to Texas Parks and Wildlife. There's a biologist there, and she'll do in-house presentations similar to what we do for hurricane preparedness to talk about coyotes and how to deal with urban coyotes. And I'll speak with Kurt and Brent to see if this might be an option. But I mean, the city tells us how to deal with coyotes and all about coyotes and what we should and should not be worried about. But just to hear it from another source, that is an option, and just to let you know that we're concerned just like you are, and we're reaching out to find other alternatives to educate ourselves. That's all I have.
All right. Thank you, Councilwoman Angie Terrell. Councilwoman Jan Bailey.
First of all, I want to say how honored I am, and I'm sure council is as well, to support CCIC. Many of us have had children go through CCIC, have children in CCIC. So we appreciate you being here, and thanks a lot. Last night also we had an emergency services board meeting. One thing that I wanted to bring back to the city is that we did hear that there were 3 individuals that put in applications for volunteering in the last 20 days, and that is very promising for the fire department. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Jan Bailey. Councilwoman Amanda Fenwick.
Thank you, Mayor. Jan or Christy, can one of y'all forward the bookkeeper's report from
I thought I did.
ESB? I didn't get
Okay,
it. If
I
you
will
would,
do that
that'd be
right
great.
now.
Thanks.
No problem.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
And I wanted to let everybody know, you know, you've heard us talk about, and we've passed several proclamations or resolutions, whichever one, in support of the Coastal Spine project. There will be an open house in Seabrook and Galveston for an update on the coastal study, the Coastal Texas study, just to kind of provide an update to residents who are interested in that, and to receive feedback on where they are with the plan. There's one Wednesday, February 12th at the Galveston Island Convention Center from 6 to 8 p.m. And then the following day, Thursday, February 13th, there's one over at the Bay Area Community Center over on NASA in Seabrook. So I encourage you, if you're interested in that project and to hear where they are in the study process and that phase, to attend one of those meetings. And if you can't, there's an email that you can provide feedback to, and you can go on to GLO's website and look at the study and where they are. And then I just also want to echo Angie and Jan and thank the police department for their support of Stewart Elementary and their snow day. I know Kima claims Stewart a lot, but by gosh, that pre-K wing is in Clear Lake Shores, so we're going to claim it as well. And I know all of our kids enjoyed having our police officers out there, and Christy and many of the other PTA parents put a lot of work into that. So thank you, TK, for your sponsorship of that, or the police department sponsorship of that, for being there for that day. We appreciate that. That's all I have, Mayor.
All right, thank you, Councilwoman Amanda Fenwick. I just have one thing. You know, yesterday our nation honored the life of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and he's a man who encouraged us to care for and see the good in all. So just remember that we're all one big family, and we all need to take care of each other. I also have another thing another challenge for the city. The other day I rolled out and joined as a mayor to it's Time Texas Community Challenge, which goes through, I think, March 2nd. But so far we already have 7,000 points. You can go in and log your Fitbit or exercise device to log your miles you run or swim or exercise. Even you can do drinking water and losing weight. But the big thing is that it lists the other cities, so we're in the extra small communities, and right now out of 66 small communities, we're number 20 at 7,000 points. So that's only with 5 of us registered. So council is challenged to take a sign up and log into the make themselves an account and do some exercises and get those posted, and then also to take a picture with the your promise to go and do this, and that'll give us even more points. And thank you for Adri for helping out execute all this. So I challenge all y'all in the audience to go up and sign up for that. So next is staff reports. Police Department, Chief Keeley.
Thank you, Mayor. Council members, I want to touch on what Councilman Montero touched on with the reaching out to Texas Parks and Wildlife regarding the coyotes and the geese. I spent about an hour and a half this morning with Catherine Ruiz from the Law Enforcement Division in Lamarck. We talked about what could be done, what couldn't be done. We talked about resources, and I think the short answer is there's no resources. There's nothing they can do. They won't go into a trap. They won't. We try to put out snares because domestic animals, children will get into them. There's a lot of options that they used to try, but they realize that there's too many and they're everywhere. So we also talked about a presentation. I want to invite the council members. I'm going to set this up. It'll be here on one of the nights where there's not somebody here. They'll have a PowerPoint presentation. It's about 30 to 45 minutes, and it'll be like one of our pizza meetings or coffee meetings, and they'll do a presentation about what their role is, what they can't do, what they can do. They'll talk about boater safety because of our geographical location, and we'll just make a night of that so that everybody's on the same page. And like you said, hearing the answer from another source is sometimes solidifies or brings it home. And so that's what I'm looking at doing probably early March or late February.
And you know we have to call it Coyotes with the Cops, right? You know that.
Well, depending on what part of Texas you're from, it's coyotes or coyotes. So, it's coyotes where I'm from.
Or coy dogs.
Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am. And the only other thing I had was Kayla's opportunity to read to the children. It meant more to us than I think it meant to you, because that's the part that we're supposed to be doing. So I appreciate the opportunity. I appreciate you inviting us to do that. And if you run across any other opportunities, I got quite a few ideas, but I want to collaborate with some of y'all. So your contacts are better than mine. So I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you, Chief Gillian. Buildings official Kevin Harrell.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Since our last meeting, I've issued 15 permits. Those 15 permits have all been minor construction. Code enforcement, I've had 3 cases, and they've all been resolved. As for what's going on here on the island, I've got a new home going up at 413 Pine, which is Nancy Schwartz's home. I'm currently in review of those plans. Target is now starting to do their construction, and I've been doing their inspections. On McDonald's, they are still waiting on their feasibility study to whether or not what size of restaurant they want to put in place. The property developer also has shown interest to the pad site between IHOP and Wendy's, but it's just an idea so far. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Kevin. All right, Kemah Fire Department's not here, and Galveston County Health District's not here. City Administrator Brent Spear.
I'll try to keep it brief. I wasn't here last week, apologize, I was out of town for the last meeting. Police chief search, has, the applicant phase has concluded. We had 26 applicants. 6 of those met all criteria, 6 met most of the criteria, 5 met some of the criteria, and 9 met minimum requirements of the posting. Interim Chief Keel did also submit his information, and he's in that top 6. So right now I'm developing some interview questions, and we'll be reaching out to some of those candidates and conducting some interviews. So that is moving forward. A reminder to persons in the audience and watching remotely when this is posted, if you're interested in serving on City Council as a member, you can fill out the appropriate paperwork and be added as an addition to the ballot and present that to the City Secretary's office February 14th before 5 p.m. Make sure you follow the instructions carefully. It does require notarization. We can't do that for you, and get that turned in. We will have an election even if no one runs for the spot on City Council. So, and we have to do that because we have to re-up that 0.25% sales tax to fund roads and drainage. So that happens, I think, every 5 years, and this is year 5. So we want to make sure that hopefully that is continued and the public votes in favor of that. When it comes to road and drainage, we're still awaiting some final numbers from Cobb Finley. We anticipate increase over what historically has been there. We've talked about that before. With pools and parks, the fan at Jarbo was damaged in a wind event. It was not powered. It just got blown around, blown up into the, it swung and took out one of the fan blades. All of those parts are now on site, including a tether kit. I contacted the company. They're going to make necessary repairs and additions to that free of charge. I did send them a video of the damage happening, so I think that went a long way in explaining things. And it was witnessed. I feel bad for the young man that was sitting underneath it because he jumped right out of his skin and looked up and kind of scratched his head like, what happened? And he did everything he was supposed to. He went over and made sure it was turned off. It was off, and went back to doing what he was doing. With Drawer Avenue, the right-of-way is being, I guess the legal part of the right-of-way is being compiled right now. I did include a copy of version 2. We had 2 versions of that right-of-way. I picked version 2 because it has less land with it, and since we're going to be requesting that right-of-way, that leaves it for the developer to use more. There is a copy in your packet. Will be posted with the minutes. Economic development. EDC did discuss the parking lot. That's an agenda item, and we'll discuss it further. The stage has been rented by EDC for the Cajun Cook-Off, and that is February 22nd. And on a related note, we've received the last lamp post for the replacement of the lamp posts here. We had to order 1. Pretty hard to find. This one came out of Scumbia, Alabama. It's the only place found where you could get them made in the U.S. So it's packed up. It was delivered, and we haven't opened it up yet, but it is black powder coated, and we should be able to get that put into service here in the next day or so. Christmas decorations have been pulled down. We are accumulating that garland and trying to store that so it doesn't get bent up and it's easier to work with. And the banners have been changed back to the island theme from the holiday theme. And just if you want to mark your calendars tentatively, we're looking at having an MD Anderson blood drive out at Clear Lake Shores parking lot at the entrance. That will be June 5th, 2020. Trying to confirm that with Okies. They are sponsoring that. And it's in honor of one of the residents that's currently undergoing some cancer treatments. We had tremendous support of that last year, and hope to continue that, and maybe can become an annual thing. The fire marshal, I've reached out to Chief Hahn, Assistant Chief Hahn, he's in Mont Bellevue now, and I will contact him on his personal email, phone. He does have a person that's interested. I'd like to talk to them, and I'm also going to reach out tomorrow to a former city employee that may have the credentials to be a fire marshal. So they're working at another municipality. Public Works, we did replace a section of pipe on North Shore that wasn't draining properly and allowing water to go out through the bulkhead. Investigated it. Fortunately, it wasn't very deep, down about 1.5 feet, and it was clogged with roots from a tree. And the problem was that it was the same size pipe but different materials, so the thicknesses were different, and it allowed treatment to kind of sneak in between those two pieces, and it just clogged it up. It was amazing. So that's been fixed. That piece has been replaced and been connected properly. And let's see, we are going to. I'll be at Olson and Olson's government training next week in Stafford. Really good training. If you have the opportunity on the 30th to go to that, I suggest it. If you don't, that's fine. They run that annually, so it's just a nice summary of what's changed year to year. And we will be working on the memorandum of understanding for the city parking lots. I think that was discussed at the last meeting. You had a copy. That's going to be tweaked a little bit and hopefully improve the language on it and maybe make some things a little more clear and understandable. But that's important because that will say that you can, for those businesses, that you can utilize this lot, but you're not going to have reserve space. You can't lay claim to spaces because they're right next to you or right in front of your building. It is a public parking lot. It's got to be available for the public. And since it is a city asset, the city's going to have the opportunity to either do maintenance on it or shut it down and have special events. Case in point might be a blood drive. So we want to make sure that we retain the ability to do that, and they're understanding of that. Just line it out. And then it gives one point of contact for communications from the city, that'd be me, and it gives me a point of contact with the business that I can reach out to and hopefully communicate with regularly if need be. So that's what's going on. Do you have any questions?
I have a question about one thing on here.
Sure.
The Senate Bill 65, what's the concern? You say that you don't think it would apply to us.
Senate Bill 65 is legislation that was passed and went into effect that is basically states that if a municipality or government agency, taxing entity, participates in lobbying, using lobbyists on their behalf, that they have to make a report of those activities. And these activities are not just for the current year, but they go back several years. And we, as a city, don't individually negotiate with a lobbyist to operate on our behalf. However, we are a member of TML, and TML may use in-house lobbyists or they may use private lobbyists, I don't know. But if we are a part of that group, are we responsible for reporting that? That's information that I don't have, and I don't know if I really could find it out, but I wanted to make sure, and the mayor brought that to my attention, that we just didn't make sure that it's...
Is Mays one of the authors of that Senate bill?
He was.
Yes, he
I
was.
was wondering, because he's not our
Right, yeah. That's one of his big issues. He's gonna bring that back up.
Okay.
At the next legislative session as well to, I mean, his thought was, well, what he wanted was to omit all lobbying and
State level.
Right.
yeah, at the state level, which makes sense.
Yeah.
But, and I think our concern there, and from a, I know from the Galveston County Mayor's concern was, well, the TML issue. Because when we do need some assistance, you know, and they were considering TML as a lobbyist, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and TML is, located appropriately to talk to those legislators,
Right.
so,
Yeah.
and work on our behalf, so.
Okay.
I've reached out to him. I've done that twice, and it was, one was right over the Christmas holiday, and the second one was maybe it was last week before I left, so.
Thank you.
So that's what I'm working on.
All right, thank you, Brent. All right, item number 5, public comments. At this time, any person with city-related business may speak to the council in compliance with the Texas Open Meeting Act. The city council may not deliberate. Comments from the public should be limited to a maximum of 3 minutes. Anybody want to speak publicly? All right, having none, we'll move to item 6, new business consent agenda, items A and B.
I'll move to approve the consent agenda.
Amanda made a motion,
I'll second.
Angie second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous. All right. Moving to council business, item number 7, discussion of possible action may be taken on the following items. Item A was discussed earlier. Item B, approve appointment of Elaine Sokoloff to the zoning board of adjustments as an alternate.
I'll move to appoint Elaine Sokoloff to the zoning board of adjustments as an alternate.
I'll second.
Amanda Fenwick made a motion, Christy Lyons second, all in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. And item C, approve change order number 2 to the Clear Lake Road parking lot. And Brent may have some words for this, and Brad, our engineer, is here too.
This is something we talked about. I had council do a request of recommendation for a amount not to exceed. That was $49,000, and that was the week that I was gone. That was based on our best guess estimate, and since then we received the 27-page geotech report with 5 borings, and suggestion was to go from a magical recipe of, I think it was 3% lime and 7% fly ash to 8% only lime. And so there's a change. Obviously fly ash and lime weigh differently, they cost differently, and so the change resulted in a change to this change order. There is a copy in your packet of the change order. EDC did approve the amount at their last meeting, went through this presentation with Brad, and I'll let Brad talk about it. He can field any questions for you. But they approved an amount not to exceed $70,000 total. $67,376 was the change order, and there's a little built in there for additional geotech, either observation or consulting, if there's a problem that's encountered, and they can address that, so we're not constantly coming back. So that's where we're at with this change order. And Brad, would you like to talk?
More than happy to answer any questions. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. Just like Brent said, the change orders for $67,376. The additional money to make up to the 70 at the time when we talked to EDC was for what we call construction materials testing. So when they go out there and the contractor's mixing, we have the testing company comes out there and makes sure that they're going 6 inches deep, that they have 8% lime. So we want to ensure that it's getting done correctly. So that's what the additional cost on top of that is. If you're not familiar, I know some of y'all have been to the EDC meeting. If you look up on the screen, I'm going to probably do this because it's easier for me. This is the area in question that most of y'all see, kind of this clouded area. This area is the one that's going to be, the subgrade's going to be mixed. The lime's going to be mixed in. It's going to be 6 inches deep. And then also we're going to have the millings be filled in that area. So originally what was put together, the area that you see that's out there today is sitting on top of years and years and years of rock, crushed rock, old foundation. So the area that is pretty much native soil. When we originally looked at it, it was looked at doing a concrete parking lot. Concrete parking lot was very expensive. At the time, it was said, we don't want to spend that kind of money on this parking lot or as a permanent parking lot. We need to put something here for the interim time, for the area, for the parking. So in doing that, geotech was not done. It was looked to just take the millings and spread it out, just kind of give an area for cars to park. There is maintenance involved with these type parking lots. As y'all are aware, there's other parking lot that we have next to pretty much the farmer's market parking lot. That's years and years and years of crushed rock that's been there as well. So it's lasted a little bit longer, and I don't believe any maintenance has been done in the 5 years that I think it's been there, or 4.5 years it's been there, and it's due for some time as well. So what we're doing with this, originally we didn't want to mess with the soil because there was a tank that was there from a previous project that was, or not a previous project, but a gas station that was believed to have been there back in the late 60s, early 70s. Nobody can give really a good answer. So we didn't want to really do a lot of excavating on the site. So it was looked to more or less put some material out there and then have cars park on it. Again, there will be rutting. I cannot guarantee that it's not going to rut. If people turn their tires, if they do spin out, if all those kind of things, this is a flexible material. It's not a permanent surface. So what we're trying to do with this, the additional change order, is to stabilize the subgrade, to give it a base. That way we put the material on top that you see out there, and that's going to finish off the parking lot. And it allows to give it a surface to move the water to the drains and drain out into Jarbo Bayou. So with that, I'll answer any questions you have.
What you just said was the sub-base allows the parking lot to drain into Jarbo. Am I understanding that? That's our purpose for doing that, it's drainage.
Well, the sub-base is there to make sure the top surface stays firm and doesn't rut a bunch, and then you end up with water filling in the car ruts. So there's some areas out there where you see where it's kind of depressed after cars have parked on it and they turn on it and they sit. So and then you get a heavy truck. This is not designed for 18-wheelers. I mean, people bringing in food trucks, that kind of stuff, they turn on it. It's just not designed for that. So what the goal in the beginning was is to give a parking lot for cars to park, golf carts to park, and such.
So it reduces, the sub-base reduces the rutting, but if we are still going to have it and we still have to maintain it. And can we as a city maintain that, or is that something we have to contract out for? Is that, what's involved in that?
What's involved in maintenance is, Brent can contract with a company that brings in millings, and then they can spread the millings. You can take hot mix, cold mix to fill in kind of ruts. Okay. That's really what it comes down to, and it's something that you can do on an annual basis.
Oh, okay.
Kind of thing.
Okay.
Anybody else have anything else?
Thanks, Brad.
Thank you, Brad.
Thank you.
I'll move to approve change order number 2 for the Clear Lake Road parking lot.
I'll second.
Manafort made a motion, Andy Terrell second, all in favor? Unanimous. And the meeting's adjourned. 7:00.